This story is not remembered for what was discovered, but for what remains unknown.
Another vehicle pulled in behind them. Moments later, gunshots shattered the stillness. When police arrived, both victims had been shot at close range. One died at the scene, the other died shortly after. There were no witnesses, no clear motive, and no obvious suspect. At the time, investigators treated the murders as an isolated incident. Violent crime was not unheard of, and nothing about the scene immediately suggested a larger pattern. Detectives interviewed friends and family, searched for personal connections, and examined the possibility of robbery or revenge. Every lead stalled. The case grew cold almost as quickly as it had begun. 6 months later, on July 4, 1969, another couple sat inside a parked car, this time at Blue Rock Springs Park. The date was symbolic, a national holiday, and the park was not far from the earlier crime scene. Shortly before midnight, a man approached the vehicle and opened fire. Both victims were hit, but this time, one survived long enough to provide crucial information. Less than an hour after the shooting, the Vallejo Police Department received a phone call. The caller spoke calmly. He reported the attack at Blue Rock Springs. Then he mentioned the Lake Herman Road murders. The details he provided were precise. There was no doubt the same person was responsible. What followed changed the nature of the case entirely. Within weeks, 3 major newspapers received letters postmarked from Northern California. The letters were written in a deliberate, taunting tone. Inside were cryptic symbols arranged in complex patterns, accompanied by a demand. The writer claimed responsibility for the murders and threatened to kill again if the letters were not published. Each letter was signed with a symbol, a circle with a cross through it. Beneath the symbol was a name the public had never heard before: Zodiac. The newspapers faced an ethical dilemma. Publishing the letters meant giving a platform to a killer. Refusing might provoke further violence. Ultimately, the decision was made to print them. The symbols appeared on front pages across the region, instantly capturing public attention. Amateur code breakers began studying the ciphers. Among them was a married couple who worked independently of law enforcement. Within days, they cracked one of the codes. The message did not reveal the killer's identity. Instead, it revealed something more disturbing. The writer described killing as pleasurable. He spoke of victims as possessions. He framed murder as a game. For investigators, this shifted the focus from physical evidence to psychology. The person behind the letters was not hiding. He was performing. On September 27, 1969, the performance escalated. A couple was attacked near Lake Berryessa in broad daylight. The assailant approached them wearing a hood and dark clothing. The zodiac symbol was displayed prominently on his chest. He spoke calmly, tied the victims, and stabbed them repeatedly. One survived long enough to describe the attacker's voice, mannerisms, and appearance. Before leaving, the killer walked to the victim's car and wrote on the door. He listed the dates and locations of previous attacks, ending with the same symbol. It was no longer just murder, it was authorship. He was documenting his own crimes. Less than a month later, another killing took place, this time in the heart of San Francisco. A taxi driver was shot and killed in a residential neighborhood. Witnesses saw a man calmly wipe down the cab and walk away. Police arrived within minutes, but the suspect was gone. Once again, a letter followed. Once again, the Zodiac claimed credit. By the end of 1969, fear had spread far beyond Vallejo and San Francisco. The killer's unpredictability was his greatest weapon. He did not follow a consistent pattern of victims or locations. He used different weapons. He struck at different times of day. Traditional profiling methods struggled to keep up. Investigators assembled task forces, compared handwriting samples, analyzed phone calls, and tracked down hundreds of tips. None led to an arrest. Physical evidence was minimal. DNA technology did not yet exist in a usable form. Every new letter reignited public panic, and every failure deepened the mystery. As the months passed, the Zodiac continued to write. Some letters included new ciphers, others mocked police directly. He complained when newspapers failed to print his messages in full. He demanded recognition, not money, not escape, but attention. The case was no longer just about catching a killer. It had become a battle over control of the narrative. And, for the moment, the Zodiac was winning.
As 1970 began, the Zodiac case entered a new phase. The frequency of confirmed attacks slowed, but the psychological pressure intensified. Letters continued to arrive, some shorter, others more elaborate. In them, the writer alternated between threats and complaints, often criticizing police for failing to understand his clues. He portrayed himself as intellectually superior, a figure operating several steps ahead of those trying to catch him. Law enforcement agencies across Northern California began coordinating more closely. Information was shared between local police departments, county sheriffs, and federal investigators. Hundreds of suspects were identified. Some lived near the crime scenes, others matched witness descriptions. A few had disturbing criminal histories. Each was investigated. Each was ultimately eliminated. One of the greatest challenges investigators faced was the lack of a consistent behavioral pattern. The Zodiac did not target a specific demographic. He did not remain in a single jurisdiction. He did not follow a predictable schedule. This randomness made it difficult to anticipate his next move or to narrow the suspect pool effectively. Handwriting experts analyzed the letters in detail, searching for unique traits that could link them to known individuals. Linguists examined word choice, spelling errors, and sentence structure. Psychologists built profiles based on tone and content. The conclusions often conflicted. Some experts believed the killer was highly educated, others argued the opposite. Some thought the errors were deliberate, others believed they were genuine. In April 1970, a new letter arrived with a disturbing addition. The Zodiac claimed responsibility for a number of murders far greater than those officially linked to him. The claim could not be verified, but it forced investigators to confront a troubling possibility. Either the killer was exaggerating to increase fear, or there were victims who had never been connected to the case. As public anxiety grew, parents warned children to stay indoors. Couples avoided isolated areas. Police patrols increased, but there was no clear threat to respond to. The Zodiac had transformed himself into an invisible presence, a name that represented danger without form. By the early 1970s, the letters became sporadic. Some appeared authentic, others were likely hoaxes inspired by the notoriety of the case. Distinguishing between genuine communications and imitations became another obstacle.
Each letter had to be analyzed, verified, and contextualized before it could be taken seriously. In 1974, what is widely considered the last confirmed Zodiac letter was received. After that, the voice went silent. No arrest followed. No confession emerged. The case drifted into uncertainty, neither solved nor officially closed. Over the following decades, interest in the Zodiac Killer never disappeared. Journalists revisited the case. Authors published books proposing suspects. Amateur investigators examined evidence with fresh eyes. Advances in forensic science offered new hope. DNA testing, unavailable during the original investigation, was applied to preserved evidence where possible. Some results appeared promising. Partial genetic material was recovered from envelopes and stamps. Comparisons were made against databases. No definitive match was found. Each breakthrough ended in disappointment, reinforcing the reality that time itself had become an enemy of the investigation. The Zodiac Killer case also raised broader questions about media responsibility. The extensive coverage, while understandable, had given the killer exactly what he wanted: attention. His crimes were amplified by headlines, his symbols reproduced endlessly, his name immortalized. This realization would later influence how media outlets handle similar cases. Today, the Zodiac Killer remains unidentified. Some investigators believe he died years ago. Others think he may still be alive, having blended back into society long ago. The truth is unknown. What is certain is that the case left an enduring mark on American criminal history. The victims, often overshadowed by the mystery, were ordinary people whose lives ended abruptly and senselessly. Their families lived with unanswered questions, not only about who committed the crimes, but why justice never arrived. The Zodiac case is remembered because it was not solved, but because it was not. It stands as a reminder of the limits of investigation, of how intelligence, preparation, and chance can align to defeat even the most determined efforts to uncover the truth. In the end, the Zodiac Killer did not defeat law enforcement through brilliance alone. He exploited uncertainty, randomness, and the power of fear. And while his identity remains unknown, his legacy serves as a cautionary tale about how easily violence can become spectacle, and how difficult it can be to reclaim control once it does.